two Senate bills, Senate Bill 201 and Senate Bill 202. We have a companion bill in the House, House Bill 365. 365 is a combination of the two Senate bills. I'll explain later why we're doing it that way, but the House bill is exactly the same as the two Senate bills combined. The legislation will address two issues. First is the sentencing of violent offenders, and second is electronic monitoring and re-entry standards. The goal that we're trying to accomplish here with this legislation is, one, to incentivize felony 1, felony 2, and violent felony 3 offenders to reform themselves while they're in prison, and 2, to keep these offenders behind bars longer if they cannot or choose not to reform themselves, and 3, to have more intense electronic monitoring and reentry programs for violent offenders that are going to be released from prison. The reason for the two bills, it's more logistical. Sometimes when you load a bill up, legislators want to work through things a little more and it slows things down. Sometimes when you add things to a bill, it makes it go faster. We're doing two in the Senate, one in the House. I equate it to racing. If you watch Indy racing, Chip Ganassi or Roger Penske, they put 2 or 3 cars out there. They have different fuel strategies on when their cars are going to pit. So this is really just more of a way of trying to make sure that if the bill does get hung up while things are being worked on, we have at least one of the two components that can go through and not have to have the entire bill held up. But this is a bipartisan effort. Now, there's nothing we can do to bring back Reagan Tokes into this world. But we're standing here as a team, the House and the Senate, Republican and Democrat, to tackle an issue. And what we've learned from this situation is that we think we can put standards in place and make changes in law that can prevent this, that can save someone's life in the future, and hopefully incentivize prisoners to reform themselves and to protect our victims. And it's just one initial step. We have to continue to work as a state to address crime and protect victims. We want to get these bills passed and then continue. So we're going to continue with the press conference. I'm now going to introduce State Representative Jim Hughes to discuss the indefinite sentencing aspects of our bill, which in the Senate bill is Senate Bill 201, and it's also a component of House Bill 365. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
Thank you, Senator Bacon. Good morning. Reagan Tokes had her whole life ahead of her. As a bright, young, intelligent, hardworking student, she was taken from this earth much too early. It is our goal with this legislation to ensure this never happens again. We may not be able to change the past and the horrible thing that took place with what occurred with Reagan. What we can do is join together and make a difference through this legislation. With regards to indeterminate sentences, while incarcerated, the alleged murderer, Brian Goldsby, was shuffled between 5 different prisons and had 52 infractions, which included fighting, possession of contraband, stealing from the commissary, refusal to obey orders, and creating disturbance. Under this bill, House Bill 365 and 2 Senate bills, all current felony level 1 and 2 offenses and felony 3 offenses of violence, subject to the 1 to 5 year definite sentence, shall be sentenced to an indeterminate range as follows. The minimum and the maximum sentence, with maximum being no more than 150% of the minimum. The remaining F3s and F4s and F5s, the current determinate ranges will continue to apply. This, as you may recall, is one of the recommendations set forth by the Criminal Recodification Committee. As a parent myself, who has a young daughter about the same age as Reagan, I can't imagine the phone call these parents here received regarding Reagan. The pain must be unbearable. But I want to thank them for honoring the memory of her and for their bravery for coming forth to stand here today to be part of this process to ensure that no other innocent lives are lost and we are protect them by our criminal justice system. I look forward to working with Representative Boggs, Senator Bacon, Senator O'Brien, and the Tokes family to see this bill properly vetted through the committee and pass. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce Senator O'Brien, who will continue our news conference.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. It's truly sad and horrible circumstances that bring us here today for this bill and the need for it. And it's a clear breakdown of our judicial system that we have to have this type of bill. But I'm proud to be here to sponsor this bill. I want to thank Representative Boggs and Hughes and Senator Bacon for their hard work on this very important changing bill to our criminal system. When we have a breakdown of our system in which one of our youngest, brightest are in danger, it is important that we pass legislation like this. To the Tokes family, our deepest condolences and a promise that we will work together in a bipartisan, straight and narrow and quickly get this legislation through the House and through the Senate as quickly as possible so that this doesn't happen to other Ohio families. One of the parts of the bill that we will be working on is the fact that when violent criminals are released from the penal system, many are not put into the private systems because they're rejected because of their violent behavior. This bill seeks to have the Department of Corrections create a system where these violent criminals are not just released into the streets. And that's what happened in this case. They will set up guide rails and support so that someone who is released is not homeless, that they have the safeguards to be protected, to protect our society from them. Another important factor of this legislation is our parole officers, making sure that their dockets are manageable, that they're able to comply with the court's rulings and monitoring of criminals who are supposed to be rehabilitated and brought back into society. This legislation will ensure that they get that type of support, and I think that's important that we make sure that happens. Again, to the Tokes family, thank you for your courage for being here. And as Representative Hughes said, I have a daughter at the same age who's attending college and is a freshman. I could not imagine getting that phone call and what this means to this family and how hard it is for them every day to go through this. But to be here supporting this legislation and making sure that all Ohio families are protected, on behalf of the Ohio Senate and the House, we say thank you. Turn it over to Kristen Boggs.
Thank you, Senator O'Brien. Good morning. I want to take a quick moment to echo the appreciation that my colleagues, Senator O'Brien, Senator Bacon, and Representative Hughes have shared for the bipartisan support that this legislation has received. And I want to quickly acknowledge other co-sponsors in the room, Representative Bernadine Kent, another Central Ohio member, and I saw Representative Celebrezzi a second ago. I'm not sure where he went. But thank you for being here today. I'm tasked with the job of talking about the changes to GPS monitoring that the Reagan Tokes Act will make. For my constituents, especially the victims in German Village of the armed robberies, their families, their residents of the community, putting forth some common sense policies and practice for GPS monitoring is paramount to keeping our neighborhoods safe. So the Reagan Tokes Act will do 4 things related to GPS monitoring. First, it will require that GPS monitors placed on ex-felons have restrictions related to those monitors. I heard from many residents in my district, why wasn't anyone watching this man who was being monitored by a GPS? And I would have to explain, it's not that he wasn't being watched. It's that there were no restriction placed on his GPS monitor. So without restrictions, an offender can go anywhere, anytime, any place, do anything, And the data that's being collected by that GPS monitor has no context. It has no meaning without restrictions. So henceforth, any GPS monitor placed on someone with post-release control restrictions will have to have restrictions associated with it. Secondly, it requires the adult parole authority to develop a searchable database accessible to law enforcement officers so that when there is an uptick in criminal activity, a law enforcement officer has the ability to go and do a meaningful search for whether or not offenders have newly been released into their communities, if they're being monitored by GPS, who their parole officer is that is watching them, and who the company is that is doing that monitoring. Thirdly, it provides that law enforcement officers will have access to GPS information if they're investigating criminal activity without having to obtain a subpoena for that information. And lastly, it requires that the GPS monitoring companies use the latest technology and they implement crime correlation software, which allows investigating officers to plug in an address, plug in a time for a criminal incident, and if anyone that has a monitor on them, that will notify the officer if they were at that place at that day and time. At this time, I'm tasked with introducing Lisa Tokes, Reagan's mother. I know many in the media have been eager to hear from her, but I want to take the moment to thank the family for the strength and the courage that it takes to be with us here today. We're here today because the worst thing that could ever happen to someone's family happened to them. And I think that most people, very understandably at this point, would be solely focused on retribution. But I've had many conversations with Lisa over the past several months, and the fact that she can be an advocate for change, the fact that she can see justice for her daughter being served by legislative action, and the fact that she's willing to fight so hard so that this doesn't senselessly happen to somebody else's family is truly incredible, and it really speaks to her deep faith and her beautiful heart. And so thank you for all of the work you're doing to make this go forward.
Thank you for all who are here today to help continue to cover this. Thank you to the team that has partnered with us. And I just ask for your patience as I read this, because obviously it is incredibly from the heart and emotional. I stand before you today, a heartbroken mother, alongside my husband, as devastated parents and representatives of a family unit that has been decimated by sheer evil, violence, and hatred that took the life of our beautiful, vibrant, kind, and loving Reagan Delaney Tokes. Reagan was the true embodiment of love and light amongst the darkness in this world. And the easy path would be to allow ourselves to get lost in the evil and darkness that took her from us, and I'm sure nobody would blame us if that was our choice. But instead, we have chosen to lean into our faith as a source of strength and support and guidance as we move forward with this act. From a place of love that ultimately created our family unit and brought us Reagan. In addition to this, we have been blessed with the support of friends and partners that are interested in pursuing change from this tragedy as well. We know in our hearts this is what Reagan would want us to do, and we know it is the right thing to do to honor her memory best. Love is a verb. Love is an action. Love is worth fighting for. Love is a gift from God, and it is inscribed on our hearts, where it shall remain forever. And it is because of this love that we have for our daughter we stand before you with this legislative team to ask for your support to help us in the efforts to get the Reagan Tokes Act moved through the Ohio House of Representatives and the Ohio Senate to be voted into law. We have all partnered together to closely examine the flaws and failures of the current judicial process and system that allowed this violence and evil to occur. It is reprehensible in the wake of this flawed system that violence like this happens time and time again, resulting in the loss of innocent, law-abiding citizens' lives that have so much positive to offer this world, like Reagan did. I mean, look around at her images. She was a person that loved life more than anyone I know. And it's apparent in every picture you see of her. That beautiful, beaming smile, it would light up and electrify a room when she entered it. And the spirit and energy that was behind that smile was even more powerful. And if you were lucky enough to experience it, then you were the recipient of an amazing gift. She left a lasting imprint on the hearts of so many that she came in contact with. So I plead with you all today on behalf of myself, my family, and other victims who don't or can't have a voice to act for change, so tragedies like the one that happened to Reagan and my family might be prevented in the future, and the current flawed system and laws for the state of Ohio are changed. For this to happen, we need all of you to reach out to your local legislative representatives to encourage them to get behind the proposed Reagan Tokes Act so it is moved from committee and can be presented as a bill and voted into law. Violent offenders should be held appropriately accountable for their actions, and the sentencing structure should be reflective of that. In addition, a violent offender's conduct while incarcerated should count, and if they cannot follow the regime for reform or are demonstrating appropriate behavior during incarceration, then there should be consequences. Currently, there aren't. Once released, parolees should be appropriately monitored in real time, and officers assigned to these parolees need to be the appropriate numbers so that when offense occurs, action can follow immediately. The false sense of security that has been given to the public about GPS monitoring and repercussions for parole violations needs to be reformed immediately. It is not protecting innocent citizens, but rather the violent offenders, and they continue to wreak havoc on the innocent. And it is beyond agonizing for us to know this to be true and factual and have destroyed our past, our present, and our future family. It was preventable, and if the correct parameters would have been in place and acted upon in a timely manner, we might not be standing before you today advocating for change. It is 2017, and technology today certainly supports all that has been mentioned. But it's not being used, and that needs to change immediately. We will continue to fight for these changes so that no other family might have to travel this tumultuous path of pain and grief that is now our forever. Please do not allow Reagan's suffering and death to be in vain, or for her life to become another number in a long history of statistics of a broken system that is empowering criminals and failing innocent victims. Change can occur if we partner together to promote it. We can choose to act together, for change can conquer tragedy. Actions can conquer tragedy. Will you please act today and join us to be the voice for change to the current laws in the state of Ohio that are so desperately in need of reform? God forbid, if nothing is done, and a tragedy like ours suddenly becomes one that might affect you or one of your family members just because the cycle is allowed to continue. Our choice to act comes from a place of ultimate love to honor our daughter. And hopefully our actions will prevent another vibrant soul from becoming a victim of violent tragedy in the future. We hope you will choose to join our mission, and we are sincerely grateful for all those who are currently standing with us that already have. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would also like to double back and introduce State Senator Coonsey. She's also a co-sponsor in the legislation and represents the district where this horrible act took place. So she's available for questions too if there's anything you had for her. The bills should be online electronically, I'd expect, by the end of the day. If you need copies of the bills or any more information, contact my office or any of my House or Senate members here on the stage. We're here to provide whatever information you need for your coverage. At this time, we'll open it up for a little bit for questions for anyone here on the stage.
I think this question is probably better for Representative Hughes. I'm not sure if you were here in 1996 when the truth in sentencing law was passed. Does the indeterminate sentencing for violent offenders fly in the face of definitive sentences in that law?
First of all, I was not here in 1996. I was a prosecutor, prosecuting cases like this. Answer to your question, what this is this gives, when somebody acts up in prison, by extending the time they're going to be there, this makes them, they want to be accountable for their actions. In other words, be reformed, as some of the prior speakers have said. By having 150% of the minimum, what you're doing is you're giving additional time. So there's an incentive for that person who's incarcerated to abide by the rules, try to get treatment, so when they do get out, they can function as a proper person in society and not do what this individual did.
Is this a form of good time?
No, it's not. No. You can't do bad time. U.S. Supreme Court has said you cannot do bad time. That was back in I think 2006 when that was ruled. However, what this is if they act up, by that indeterminate, by this tail that's on this legislation, they're going to have those additional time if they don't abide by.
All right, we just heard from the family of Reagan Tokes and lawmakers talk about a series of bills called the Reagan Tokes Act. It's doing a number of things, including changing the way the Department of Corrections and authorities deal with violent offenders, specifically allowing for closer monitoring and more restrictions for violent offenders with GPS monitoring. For more information on this new bill and what's next in the trial against Reagan's accused killer, you can, of course, stay with NBC4 for complete coverage. We'll now send it back to your regularly scheduled programming.